So it will be political suicide for you to come and say you want to do 8 years. Nobody will vote for you, not even from South or from the North.
Or himself. You would have asked him, what has he offered to PDP?
Yo, what up, guys? So on today's news, we're still going to talk about Peter Obi, because it seems like Peter Obi's firewood is still catching and it's burning very hard, guys, because a whole lot of people are coming out to still talk about Peter Obi concerning his statement of coming to do just 1 term if made president. And you know, when I say a whole lot of people, I mean a whole lot of people. So today I'm going to be showing you some other videos of some people reacting to this particular statement that Peter Obi had to make. Person like Kenneth, Okonkwo, of course, who also came out to defend Peter Obi. Well, I'm not going to be saying so much because I'm going to be showing you on his video. And we also have somebody like Dan Ulasi, who also came out to, you know, was talking about Peter Obi, and also had Chimamanda, who also came out and was talking about this same matter, guys. So in the course of this video, guys, I'm going to be showing you all these guys and what they had to say about Peter Obi's statement, guys. And you know, as if it was not enough, before I will even show you this guy's video, I'm going to be reading something that Aisha Yusuf, you all know Aisha Yusuf, one of Peter Obi's dedicated follower, you know, she came up and she said, Aisha Yusuf can confirm that Mr. Peter Gregory Obi has always said he would do just a term, even before the 2023 election. I used to argue with him that 1 term is not enough and he can't just refuse to contest. In fact, I told him on several occasions while we were campaigning in 2022 that the people will not allow him to do just a term. He would use Nelson Mandela as example. He would explain that if one was ready to really work, then a term was more than enough. Earlier this year, I went back to him to ask if he truly meant what he said about doing just a term. Many from the North have shown concern over support for Peter Obi might lead to an extra 4 years for the South. I told him that I was going to speak on his promise to do 1 term only publicly, and I needed his confirmation on doing a term as my integrity mattered to me and I wouldn't want to say anything and it turned out not to be so. Mr. Obi once again gave me his word that he was going to do only 1 term. Guys, this is Aisha Yusuf and her coming out again to confirm that what Peter Obi said about doing 1 term, it has been what he has always said from the inception of this presidential race. Now, guys, Peter Obi also came out today again and he was like, if service is the motive, turning the tide in 4 years is possible. I still find it baffling that my decision to do a term of 4 years, if given the mandate to rule this country, is generating so much agitation. By this feeling, we are adapting the fact that a sincere leader can achieve much in 48 months. I have never been desperate in pursuit of power or anything else for that matter. There are some traits associated with desperation which in no way are in any of my political behavior in the past and now, like engaging in overly aggressive rhetoric or actions to prove a point or gain attention, becoming overly defensive or react to criticism, often to the point of appearing paranoid, making unnecessary or unfulfillable promises to win support or approval, resorting to personal attacks or character assassination to discredit opponents, or frequently changing position or politics to suit immediate political need. What drives me is not personal ambition but a deep commitment to see Nigeria work. And if the sacrifice required of me is 4 years of sincere, accountable leadership, so be it. Throughout my political journey, I have never been involved in thuggery, the snatching of ballot boxes, or any form of electoral malpractice. I challenge anyone, conduct your investigation. You will find no stain of rigging or violence associated with my name. I have always chosen the path of peace, principle, and civility. Ask those who have contested against me. None were ever denied their rights, framed or forcefully accused. None was asked to place their advert materials or break the bank to do so. I believe in fair competition, not manufactured victories. In 4 years, we can confront corruption head on, redirect resources to priority areas. For instance, the trillions used to acquire new presidential jets and other unnecessary expenses at this time could have been channeled into education, healthcare, or infrastructure. Within the same period, we ensure that the rule is sacrosanct and the rule of law is strictly followed. We can conduct free, fair and credible elections. Leadership to me is not about entitlement. It is about service. If given the mandate for just one term, I will dedicate every moment to build a Nigeria that works for all. PO. So guys, this was what Peter Obi had to say after, a lot of people have come out to talk about him coming out to do one tenure according to what he said. Now, Kawu Gaba said, if you could solve the problem of Nigeria in 4 years, you would have solved that of Anambra for the 8 years you were governor. You are nothing but a fraud and desperate politician. You are a bigot. And we will never vote for you. Now, another person came up and said, you governed Anambra State for 8 years. You couldn't tackle the Onitsha flood in 8 years. You couldn't build a single school/hospital in 8 years. You couldn't create employment in Anambra for 8 years. You took Anambra back to the top list of poverty capital. You commissioned substandard roads, which are now dilapidated. You couldn't build flyovers in Oka. You couldn't fix the problem of 21 local governments in 8 years. How do you wish to tackle the problem of 36 states and 774 local governments in 4 years? Oniru Johnson came up and said, Sir, couldn't review all your writings. It is evident that the truth remains immutable. 4 years is ample time for a competent and principled leader like you, untainted by corruption or mediocrity, to implement transformative change that profoundly impacts a nation like Nigeria is not a rocket science. Yomi came up and said, you have been the social media president since 2023. Now, what have you achieved since now? Saki came up and said, you are just desperate, Oga. Nigerians aren't stupid like your mob. We know what we are doing and can think for ourselves, unlike your mob. You ruled Anambra for 8 years and left it as the erosion capital of the world. Yet, somehow you think you can fix Nigeria. In 4. I beg you. And lastly, Awa said, you ruled for 8 years in your state. No legacy project, no infrastructure, just talk and baseless rhetorics. So guys, these are some of the comments that Peter Obi got after he came up again to defend his previous statements of ruling for one term. So I'm now going to show you what Kenneth Okonkwo had to say about Peter Obi's statement for ruling for just one term in 4 years.
But here is another issue. Because of our rotational arrangement, which has this proposition of 8 years for South, 8 years for North, politicians now do not want to place themselves in a disadvantaged position, because 4 years having been taken by a Southern politician, if you are a fresh politician and you want to do another 8 years, you will know that you are dead on arrival. So it's a political strategy on its own for you to accede that you will do 4 years. It is not because the politician did not want to do 8 years, no. But he knows that he has only 4 years left from the Southern, remaining term. But here is another issue. By agreeing you will do 1 year, you do 4 years, you have also agreed that if there is any other Northerner that say he will do also 4 years, then both of you are at the same level of equity, because there would be no injustice either section. So there's nothing wrong in a party, for instance, especially an opposition party that doesn't have an incumbent, saying in order that Nigerians will be free to trust them, that they are going to have a transitional government whereby whoever is going to contest would have to agree to do 1 term and do not exercise his constitutional rights to recontest. A party can do that, so that whether they present a candidate from the North or from the South, the Nigerians from either section will not feel that they have been betrayed or an injustice meted out to them. For instance, if a Northerner wins in another political party and commits to do 4 years, then what it means is that the South and the North has shared for 4 years like they did during the Yaradua Goodluck Jonathan period, and there will be no injustice. So there is nothing, absolutely nothing that ought to raise concerns or arguments. But like you said, a man who kills by the sword does not like people to wave sword at his back. So politicians have made themselves very untrustworthy. So they go the extra mile to prove themselves when they make any proposition.
All right, Mr. Okonkwo, that's noted. A lot of people might have focused on the what in terms of what was said, but you've drawn some focus to the why this move might have been made in terms of the rotational arrangement and being a political strategy. But let's examine at the why a bit closer. Do you think there are any personal reasons that might not be overt for this declaration being made by the aspiring president of Nigeria?
No. It's purely a political strategy. There is nothing hidden about it because every politician would want to complete his 2 terms if he has the opportunity. But of course, if this were 2023, the same politician and presidential candidate or aspirant would not make the same promise. Like I said, as it stands today, a Southerner has taken 4 years. So it will be political suicide for you to come and say you want to do 8 years. Nobody will vote for you, not even from South or from the North. So it is purely a political strategy, nothing else. Anybody telling you it's because he wants to be like Mandela or want to be like this, no, that's not true. But again, the person may want to tell you that just for you to believe he will do 4 years. He may want to tell you that he can still achieve his basic objectives within 4 years. Just to encourage you to know that he is serious in not trying to exercise his constitutional right to recontest election. So there is nothing beyond political strategy. That's what it is.
All right, some political scientists will usually say that we missed a major turning point in our nascent democracy, whereby we did not see through.
Now, guys, you have heard him. Do you think this is possible, actually, guys? Do you really think coming for 4 years can actually change Nigeria? What do you think about what Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo have just said? Now, I'm going to also show you what Dan Ulasi had to say about Peter Obi moving to PDP and also coming up for 4 years, 1 term.
One, Mr. Peter Obi returning to the PDP, and then 2, Mr. Peter Obi promising that he will do only 1 term only, which many Nigerians have received with skepticism on the grounds that, well, these promises are easy. When you get to that office, the reality is a different thing. The calculations are different. That's one. The second other issue that I would like you to react to is Minister Nyesom Wike giving the PDP conditions about whether Chief Danobi is still the national vice chairman, South or not, and whether another event that was held bringing up another person also in the South can hold or not. And that if nobody listens to him, the convention scheduled for November will not hold. And he gave those conditions. So one member of the party giving conditions, declaring conditions under which the convention can hold. This is not an evidence, clear evidence, that the PDP that we are even talking about is in ICU, as Senator Suswam once proclaimed on this same program.
I will say good morning again for having me. You know, in this country we have what we call free speech enshrined in our constitution. You know, you have the capacity to say what you like and how you like it, for as long as you don't abuse or blackmail anybody to a point that might necessitate his going to court to challenge what you have said. But I have to start by saying that, democracy depends on, several doses of civility. And the underlying word is civility, which most people, even in politics, do not understand. And because they don't, they exhibit some form of a reflective instinct towards self-preservation. And this reflective instinct that gives them rise to self-preservation makes them be stoking paranoia, and it's a very dangerous thing to happen. So you see people who take oath for unsurpassed devotion to duty, when indeed what they mean is to have taken oath for unsurpassed devotion to stealing money. And that's why the country has not moved. So coming back to your question, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, most people, the elite, the so-called educated, tend to forget that the Constitution says 4-year term. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria gives you a 4-year term. So that Constitution presumes that in 4 years, you should be able to make an impression, an impactful impression on your society. It's only when you do very, very well and you desire for a second term that you ask for a second term, which they may or may not give you. Because there are many places in this country where people zone offices just for 4 years. You do and somebody else goes. It doesn't mean that you must finish what you started, but if you have a project that is good and somebody else comes in, he will finish it. And I give you an example. If you come into Enugu now, we have one of the best governors in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Most of the projects abandoned over the past 16, 20 years. Coming to Enugu is like you're entering London. Beautiful. You can see how the governor is, rehabilitating and finishing all the projects. So, in effect, Peter saying that he will do 4 years, I think it is sacrosanct. It's, by all standards in Nigerian politics, is a very honest person, a good Christian. He doesn't talk from both sides of his mouth. So I believe him that he will do it in 4 years. Anybody. If you discuss, I would like people to have him on television on this Arise platform. And if you listen to him, you will see and believe that he will do everything he wants to do, maybe not 100%, in 4 years. That's what the Constitution presupposes, that if they felt that you can't do most things you have pledged to do in 4 years, they would have said, giving it 5 or 6 years. So Peter hasn't said anything out of point. It's his belief that in 1 year you should be able to do proper analysis, even before you come into office. Do a proper analysis for what your vision is and how to implement that vision.
Now, guys, you have also heard from him what he had to say. This is somebody who, one of the people who pioneered the beginning of PDP, coming to say this about Peter Obi. Man, this thing is getting really, really heated. Now, let's hear from Chimamanda what she has to say about Peter Obi coming for just one term.
I'm not sure who you're going to be supporting during the elections in 2027.
Well, we don't know who's running yet, do we?
Because I know that you had this, I don't know if it's a relationship or you had supported Peter Obi.
Yes.
And now he's in the coalition. People say that Atiku perhaps would be president. Would you like to see him become vice president? Does he still have your support?
Let's go back to dream count.
Oh my
Well,
word.
but I think what I will say about your question, and I don't, part of the reason I don't like to speak speculatively about things I'm not sure of, so we don't know who's a candidate. But I will say that my support for Peter Obi, right, is something that I do not hesitate to proclaim or talk about, because I can tell you what it is rooted in. It's rooted, my support for Peter Obi is rooted in my love for this country. It's rooted in my belief that with the right leader, we can be better than we are. We can create a country where people feel included, a country that is not corrupt and does not tolerate corruption. Again, if you have the leader who's setting the tone, it makes all the difference. And I think that he's also a person who, he doesn't need to be president. He wants to be because he cares about Nigeria, but he doesn't need to be, and that is a very important distinction. There are people who are desperate to become president, not because they have any good intentions for the country, but because of their own personal egos. And I think that distinction is so important, because you choose the right leader and you realize it's not about him. For Peter Obi, it's never been about him. Even as a person, his personality, I think, is very telling. He's one of the simplest men I have ever known, and I've known him for many years. And he is genuine and consistent. The person I knew 15 years ago is still the same person in terms of his values. And he's very curious. He wants to learn. And I think that's such a good quality to have in a leader. And also, I mean, there's a wonderful humility. We lack that in this country. There's a sense, I think, in Peter Obi that he's accountable to the people. He doesn't think that somehow he will lord it over people. Peter Obi is not a person who expects you to thank him for doing his job as a leader, because to him, it's his job. And so these are the reasons that I support him, and that I will continue to support him in whatever way I can. But I don't want to talk in specifics about how will I feel if he's not the presidential candidate. I don't want to think about that yet because we don't know.
Now, guys, you have heard from all of these three persons, and you can see their different perspective to where they are coming from. What do you think about what Peter Obi have said, comparing it to the present Nigeria, and do you think it's possible for Peter Obi to actually make a change? Well, tell me what you think about this in the comment section. And if this is the first time you are seeing this channel, guys, do not forget to like, subscribe, and also drop your comments in the comment section below.